Holy moly, it's Monday.
It is Monday.
How are you, Mr. Rosenberg?
I'm good. It feels like I'm a little light.
You were like very well lit, or at least you're a lot of lit.
How's that? Is that
so
better?
that's much better. Much better. How are you?
We're both on the Elgato cameras at the moment.
Oh, you are using your Elgato. Very nice.
Yeah, that's how I was able to do the extreme zoom.
Extreme zoom. There you are. You see.
It's like I'm on a cable access show when I do this.
It is a little Wayne's World, but hey,
yeah.
We're not reviewing Wayne's World tonight. But this is the EriDan Film Festival, the time we get together with friends and family and some people we just generally don't like. And we talk about movies. You can be a guest whether you like us or not. EriDanLive.com. Just pull that up in the old browser and you will get to join us. Or feel free to make comments in the comments section. We'd love to hear your opinions, your thoughts about what you think of this week's movie. And obviously we get to choose a movie for next week. And we'll talk about some TV and other stuff. And there's so much happening. We could talk about the writer's strike. If we want to talk about that and the actors on strike. The fact that there won't be any new movies that haven't already been made for quite some time. So we could talk about all sorts of things, Dan. Don't you think?
I'm off. Like I've got too much. Like we both have almost the same shot for the first time because we're using.
I know we're almost even. I feel like I need to pull out just a little bit. Here I can come back. There we go. That's a little. Now we really look like we're the talking heads of podcasting. Oh well, let me tell you what I've got to tell you about that.
Blow your mind for a minute. There's a guy I love. I'll show one of his clips later. But speaking of clips, we have lots of people here.
Do we?
There's a few people here to join us already.
Lots of people? No, we do. We have lots of people, and we want you to join us. But we should start bringing some people in, don't you think? Maybe.
Bring them in. Breath away.
Oh my goodness. We don't go for that kind of language here, writers. You better calm your naming down. Felix Unger. How are you?
All right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is this your first time ever watching The Odd Couple?
No.
Is this your first time being The Odd Couple?
No.
Nope. What?
Okay. Nope, definitely that's us.
All right.
Okay.
Speaking of odd,
we're glad that you're here. And thank you for giving us no transition.
That's Scott? Yes, it's Scott.
There's Scott.
It's Scott. As a baby, he'll grow. Bring Scott back. What? I see this as an absolute win.
And there's the absolute winner.
Oh.
So lemony.
Wow.
I am not that odd.
No. Whoa.
When he laughs, he disappears.
That's just like a superpower. There it is.
Yeah.
I was doing
when
that
he laughs,
today.
he disappears.
Go out of nowhere.
Oh,
Speaking of out of nowhere.
Well, Dan, you're there.
It's not working like it used to.
No.
Yeah, speaking of out of nowhere.
Speaking of not working like he used to. No.
I'm sorry, Dave. This conversation can serve no purpose anymore.
At least we're not as sweaty as the guys in that apartment, boy.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
The sweat dripping off of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a hot apartment.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how Felix fixed that, but we can talk about that.
Content that has aged well.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Well, we got to bring in Amanda, too. Let's bring in Amanda. It's Amanda.
Oh,
How are you?
pretty good.
Pretty good. Did you enjoy this sci-fi action-packed?
It was epic.
Jack Lemmon was definitely an alien in this
thriller.
Yeah, Adam's
Non-stop
here.
action. Whew.
Adam's still
Yeah,
working.
really.
No video from Adam tonight. But yeah, he was not. Adam, not a fan of this movie.
No,
You're not
He didn't actually say that. He just said that he didn't laugh once.
We also said this is my first and last time watching this stinker.
I don't know.
That would be
Let's
not
say
a
he didn't
fan.
say
That's a little.
not usually a way you refer to a movie you're fond of. You
Yes,
know? But hey,
unless you see a Pepe Le Pew movie that you're very excited
maybe
about.
we can convince him otherwise. You know, and apparently Rebecca knows Water Matthau clearly, mostly from Dennis the Menace movie.
Right?
Mr. Wilson.
It's just kind of awesome. That's kind of awesome. If you haven't figured it out, we're talking about The Odd Couple tonight. Thanks to Dave.
Or
From
blame Dave, either way.
1968. Jack Lemmon, Water Matthau, and four other people you have never heard of before. No, we'll talk about that later. Gene Sachs, written, of course, by Neil Simon. Budget of $1.2 million, worldwide gross $45 million. Critics at a 98, audience at an 89. This is like last week where the movie was rated exceptionally high. And so, Dave, what motivated? I know you've been waiting for a comedy.
It was actually there are other movies that were well ahead of this on my list, but as I try to pick to some degree based on what we've done recently. So if we've been mainly watching action, I'll go comedy. If we've mainly doing comedy, maybe I'll go mystery. You know, just to try to keep it more varied. And
Thanks, Dave.
Following up from the Fellowship of the Ring, something lighter, and just looking through my list, I was throwing us, no, not really in the mood for that. And I hadn't seen this movie in probably 20 years. Been a good long time since I saw it. I had very fond memories of it. I have very fond memories of the TV series that was based on it. And so I just wanted to see it again. And I knew it was a movie I would enjoy. I hoped most other people would enjoy it. I figured the film people here have seen it.
Yeah.
Some other people would not have seen it. So just curious how it would be received. Plus, it's one of my favorite actors of all time in Jack Lemmon. So you can't go wrong with that. And one of the all-time most successful playwrights of the 20th century in Neil Simon.
Yep.
This is true. It's true. Although my wife really said that she really preferred Tony Randal in the Felix Unger role.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to mention. Is it was one thing that I didn't remember because it had been too long since I've seen it. Is there's no question that Randall's character is different than Lemmon's character in the movie. Lemmon's character is more of an every guy. Yes, he's fastidious. He's very particular, but he eats meatloaf and Franks and beans. Whereas the Tony Randal Felix Unger from the TV show was, he was almost a snob. Opera, fine dining. He didn't understand sports at all. Right. Whereas this Felix is bowling and playing pool.
He's a very Frasier-esque character. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Or almost not quite the extreme of a Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, and he's almost a disconnected from popular culture and society to an extreme degree. So that was a change from the play and from the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was much more about the behavior in this one, and rather than the eccentricities.
Mm-hmm. And also the movie did follow a complete arc. It followed from when Felix's wife and he separated until after however many months it was, he was out. He was
3.5 weeks. 3.5 weeks until they.
How long it was?
And he moved out.
Say? Okay.
Yeah, as opposed to the 5 years of the
TV. Well, and they also felt the need. I had forgotten this. I was doing a little reading. I remember it now in retrospect. The TV series, they had a big ending of that. That's one of the series where they actually had a final episode that was the final episode of the series, and they had time to write it in advance. They had Felix leaving the apartment, getting remarried to the wife that he had divorced. And I had completely forgotten that.
And Oscar wakes up next to Suzanne Plachette. Is that right?
Yes. And then he gets shot by Larry Hagman.
And then all the poker players go to jail. It's a very odd.
Yeah, just like Seinfeld. Exactly.
Yeah.
What I noticed was it was very obvious it was a play.
Yeah.
It kind of shot it almost like a play.
Yeah.
Very much.
There are a lot of scenes, almost like 12 Angry Men was similar to that as well, where there's a lot of, the set is very much like a play.
The play was entirely
color.
set in the apartment.
Can we?
Yeah.
Can we
Everything
talk
that they
about
left in the
for
apartment
a
for the
second?
movie was added for the movie.
Yeah.
We were still in that.
The
we were still in that-
8-room apartment in New York.
Yeah, that was a nice apartment.
An
A big
apartment
apartment.
was amazing.
8 rooms. Yeah, we were still kind of in that pre-cabaret era of stage plays and musicals, where basically if it was about the writing, it was about the bit, then you had to see the whole bit. It wasn't voyeuristic.
Yeah, you didn't have Spider-Man on a wire. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
it was a different era of Broadway.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, it was like, oh, well, what if you were actually there? We're going to take the French movies seriously.
I just really like
It was
they
from
were-
the era where it was all about the writing, whether it was Oscar, Rogers and Hammerstein, whether it was, Sondheim, whether it was Neil Simon. These were the greats of Broadway writing in the early 2/3 of the 20th century that were really just an amazing run. And then it did change quite a bit. It's sort of somewhere in the 70s to 80s it started to change.
Yeah, it was all the Fosse movies. It was Cabaret. It was all that jazz.
Yeah.
There's also the impact of The Godfather, just generally
Chicago.
on how things were shot. Well, Chicago was much later. That was in 2002, but the musical
That's
came out
true.
in the 70s.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I liked, when they went in the cop car looking for him, and they had the scenes out in the street.
Yeah.
Just seeing the cars in old New York City from the late 60s, that was really cool.
That was
The
cool.
opening sequence was like that too.
The opening
I
sequence,
just thought
too.
how beautiful it was. I'm like, look at this movie. It was great.
I will say I don't think they needed the intro they added for the movie. With Felix trying to kill himself. The stage play apparently just opened in the apartment with them playing poker and waiting for Felix to get there. And it was okay. It didn't hurt it really, but I just didn't think it was necessary.
It
Was it
seemed
like-
out of character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his character.
I think it was like a kind of a hooky way for you to like sympathize with him immediately from the beginning
Yeah.
to excuse some of his behaviors later. But it was like, yeah.
Yeah, I will say it was interesting because this is my first time seeing this movie. So I did not know what he was doing at the beginning. I was like, oh, he needs to get some fresh air. Okay, I don't know why he wants a high floor. That's weird. Oh, he would I honestly had no idea. So it was kind of interesting, like having it all recontextualized as they got the phone call and you learned it's like, oh no, that's what he was doing. So I actually kind of liked that as a first viewing, kind of.
I also love that they used the same theme song.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They didn't change it for the TV show.
Nope.
And
I mean-
and the Cecily and Gwendolyn were the only actors to appear in Broadway, then the movie, then the TV show.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Wow.
There's a
They're
line
in
where
Disney.
near the end where Felix is going to live with the two women.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, it's like a Man About the House. And I immediately thought of the TV show called Man About the House, which ended up being Three's Company.
Yep.
Like, was that
Guy with two women? Yes.
like were they inspired? Was that TV show in England inspired by this?
I don't
But
know.
apparently Neil Simon was very involved with the movie. All of those editions were written by him. He was very involved in the casting. There was a story that I immediately thought of Stacy when I heard it, because I was watching a bit on the Blu-ray, one of the extras with Chris Lemmon, talking about when he first became aware that his dad was a star. Because he just grew up, he's just dad. Yeah, he knew he was an actor, but just dad. He said it was probably like 5th or 6th grade. He was on a playground. And this other kid comes over to him and goes, hey, Lemonhead, see that kid over there? That's Robert Conrad's son. He plays Jim West on the Wild Wild West. He's more famous than your dad. and Chris Lemmon goes, yeah, he's Jim West. And then later he realizes, well, I guess my dad's famous. I never knew my dad was famous.
That's really funny.
Awesome.
Hey, Lemony Snicket, your dad sucks.
Now, I don't know if any of you took the initiative to hunt out The Odd Couple 2 from
No.
1998.
I thought of it, and I realized
Yeah, I
I read
probably
the
was,
description. I'm like, I think I actually saw that.
Oh, I made it 20 minutes in, and I had to turn it off. It honestly, it's so sad what it does to the memory of the original movie. And it was
I was more tempted.
Huh.
I was more tempted to want to seek out and watch the first episode of the TV series, but I
Yeah.
didn't have time to.
Yeah.
We watched a little bit of that, and I was gonna try to watch the entire sequel, and it's even though written by Neil Simon, it is such a
but
bad, predictable.
Neil Simon by about 1980 or so, you can tell he was winding down. He just didn't seem to have the same touch that he'd had. I mean, it probably his last really big. Yeah, well, you'll be alone on that hill, Adam.
No, that's a great.
Is it a hill of grumpy old men?
Well, the thing, grumpy old men is Lemmon and Matthau, who have great chemistry, no question.
Right.
It's them doing slapstick.
Yeah,
Well, that's what Odd Couple 2 is.
It's a slapstick movie.
Yes, and so Adam might like Odd Couple 2, right? He might, right? So Adam not a fan.
Adam,
It's an interesting thing though is when another thing that Chris Lemmon was talking about with his dad was his dad always felt that there doesn't have to be a differentiation between comedy and drama. That it's a good play or it's a good movie. You don't have to pigeonhole the whole thing. And he never felt the need to. Which when Adam first posted saying he didn't laugh at all, it's like, well, you could still enjoy this movie and not laugh,
right?
But apparently Adam didn't, which I wish he had, but that's fine. We have different tastes, but
it's not your typical laugh out loud funny.
No, it's
but
the
there are humorous points to it, like when he's trying to clear his eustachian tubes in the restaurant. Because then, I mean, Tony, I did laugh at that because I thought of Tony Randall's doing that.
Yeah.
Which was hysterical.
Well, I think apparently Jack Klugman was far from a slob. He was a fastidious dresser. But Lemmon and Matthau were apparently, I guess, The Fortune Cookie, which was a few years earlier with the Billy Wilder movie, which is a really good movie. That was where they'd met, and they became lifelong best friends after that. They were just they were as different as can be, but they were just totally close for the rest of their lives. And they died within a year of each other.
Oh, wow.
And I think Chris Lemmon said, what was this comment? If only Walter had learned to golf, he thinks his dad would have married him.
Well, there was some interesting, some of the trivia that was in here talked about this was supposed to be a Billy Wilder movie.
Yes.
And that Felix was based on Neil's brother, Danny. And let me see where there's another.
Yeah, and the reason they didn't get Wilder is they just ran out of money. Because Lemmon, Matthau was paid $300,000 for this. He wasn't really a movie star yet. He was on the rise, but he wasn't quite there yet. Lemmon was already a big star. Lemmon got $1 million plus 10% of the gross. And after that, they just didn't have any money left to hire Wilder.
And it was supposed to be Art Carney. That's who played Felix on Broadway with Walter Matthau.
Right.
And they thought about Jackie Gleason, but they couldn't afford him. Yeah. And they actually did think about, if I can find this thing, where is it?
Well, interesting is, and Klugman was the guy who replaced Matthau on Broadway after Matthau left the show.
Yeah, and Tony Randall and Jack Klugman were actually considered for the roles in the film.
Yeah. So I will say, to Adam's comment earlier about this being based on a play, I think I would have enjoyed this better as a play than as a movie. Like, it was okay. There were some of the jokes that landed fine for me, but otherwise it felt a little slow. It
started slow. It definitely started.
The start was very slow, and it picked up some, but it never. And like, there were scenes that I enjoyed, and there were jokes that I enjoyed. Like I did enjoy the the Pigeon Sisters scene. That was very.
I thought the whole sequence with the Pigeon Sisters was hysterical.
The rest of the movie was just fine, but I did enjoy that scene. But for example, the scene at the diner where he's clearing his sinuses, like, I think I would have, like, in the context of like being in a theater and watching it as a play, because I'm looking at a stage and it's very clearly not a real diner, the over the topness of that wouldn't have bothered me as much as it did like in a like a movie where we're seeing other patrons. It's like a full diner set and he's doing this insanely over the top that no one would ever actually do at a restaurant, and it just kind of seemed like, okay, why are you doing that? That's just dumb. Well, if it were like a play, I feel like I could have gotten more into it. I don't know. And there's a bunch of things like that I feel like I could have enjoyed more in like watching a live stage play, and as a movie, it just kind of felt like, oh, okay, you could have maybe changed that more when you're adapting the movie.
Well, that was one of the criticisms that Lemmon got from at least one critic at the time, was they felt he had overacted a bit.
Mhm.
And that may have been one of the scenes they were referring to.
Yeah, because for a lot of it, and overall, I really enjoyed the acting in it. But that scene in particular, I was like, "Oh, is that where the humor of this movie is going?" And happily, it wasn't that way most of the time.
Well, it's one of the things about having somebody direct a show that was for the screen. Like if you look at the producers, like the person who directed the movie version of the stage show, which was the most winning show of all time at that point, like 10 or 12 Tonys. They basically shot and directed the entire movie like it was the stage show, and it's very clear. Yeah, and it's pretty much the same thing. Like there are some things that you just know work better in a film context because of the style and the expectations you have for that kind of medium.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that this has kind of been an issue for a lot of shows, especially in the 60s. Like Hello Dolly was the most popular musical of its year, but the movie, people will say, was literally the death of the Hollywood musical until you got to Cabaret in the early
it's Walter Matthau again.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
to bring this movie to Pittsburgh a little bit, they were playing the Pirates.
Yes.
In that
Mazeroski.
Mazeroski. It was Bill Mazeroski because it was supposed to be Roberto Clemente, but he kept beating the guy to first, so they couldn't get to triple play. He was too fast, and they tried to get him to slow down. It looked like he was walking, so they had Bill Mazeroski do it instead.
They said in Wikipedia that he refused.
Wow.
He's like, yeah. So that's kind of cool that they had the Pirates going on in the background.
They said Mazeroski, and we went,
Yeah. Just the fact that he missed a triple play because of the emergency phone call.
Yes. Because he was making Franks and beans.
Oh my God.
Reminded me of the time that Eric and I were seeing Debbie Gibson at National Record Mart, and I had a pager, and my brother paged me with a 911. And he wanted to know what time I was going to be back for dinner. I'm like, that's not a 911. That's not even an 811. That's like a 211.
You're having Franks and beans.
It was similar. It was a very similar emergency call.
But I always thought it was hysterical, Scott, that when the producers was made into a Broadway show, fine, that happens a lot these days.
Yeah.
And then they made the Broadway show back into a movie.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the amount of inbreeding that goes with that. Like it's like the making of The Thief and the Cobbler. It was an animated movie that worked on for 30 years. The directors were inspired by that when they made Aladdin, the Aladdin directors. And then that movie, when it got bought by Sony, adopted the humor of that one. What is this?
Yeah.
What's popular?
It has become such a thing, though, of movies being made into Broadway shows now. It used to be the exact opposite.
Yeah.
You'd have a Broadway show, and if it was big enough, whether it was Hair, whatever, they would make a movie version of it. And now they go the other way more often.
Oh my goodness. Dear Evan Hansen using the same actor who now looks like he's in his late 20s.
Well, he was 27, I think, when he made the movie, yeah.
Yeah. What a choice. Like, that dad has to be dad of the year.
Well, he did produce the movie, so.
It worked for Grease. It worked fine for Grease.
Worked great for the Pink Ladies, too. Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But apparently they
sad tale right there, the Pink Ladies.
Whether you love this movie or didn't love it, this is sort of an example of a professional Hollywood movie. I mean, you have Jack Lemmon, who is one of the consummate professionals. You have Walter Matthau, who is just coming into his own, at sort of near the peak of his career, and then these actors who are all stage actors, who are, these are not the kind of guys when we discussed Some Like It Hot back when we did that, how Billy Wilder was saying he would use whatever take Marilyn got her lines right, because Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon were always at least good. Yes, some takes were better than others, but they were always reliable. This was an entire crew of reliable people. I mean, they cranked through these scenes. And apparently, I hadn't heard this until I was watching an extra, Matthau broke his arm at some point and they had to do part of it, and he actually changed some of the bits, like the way he held the sandwich under his arm, because they filmed the second act first, and then they filmed the first act. So he redid some of that staging to accommodate his gamey arm.
Oh my god!
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
intense. Yeah.
I love that when he had all the stack of sandwiches under his arm.
I like how Adam puts us in here as if we wouldn't already know this.
I didn't know it.
Well, you guys didn't, but this is local. I mean, of course, Adam. It's after the NHRA races, though.
This
I don't
is
think I
how
can get-
invested he is in this movie, Dan.
I don't think I can get all the way from. Maybe I can, but I'm not going to.
He just
Anyway.
he just really wanted to see this. This reference to Debbie Gibson was brought to you in part by all new Fluckersnoodles, the perfect snack for when mom and dad just won't listen.
You asshole.
Speaking of Fluckerschnoodles, we should score this thing.
I think we could probably do some scoring, don't you think?
Yeah.
I feel like we've done enough.
Look at Adam, he's giggly.
Let's do,
So giggly.
The EriDan rating bot 6000. EriDan rating 6000. EriDan now activated.
Yes. We start with
I should've-
Dave.
I should have come in character with sweat pouring off my face.
Yes.
now,
Those close-ups on that poker game were
Wasn't
just
there a
awesome.
couple- wasn't there a couple of the people playing poker who ended up on the TV show, right?
Yes.
Right?
No.
I thought the guy who played Murray and the guy who was
no. It's
No.
a different guy who played Murray.
That's
No.
a little lossy.
Murray
He
was
was on
Aldo
that.
Vecchio from Happy Days.
Yeah,
But
And now
Murray was on. Murray was on.
he may have been
The guy
on. He
who-
wasn't on as Murray.
No. And then the little blonde guy.
He was wasn't he the voice of the doorman on Mary Tyler Moore that you never saw?
maybe that's it. Maybe I.
This is Carlton, your doorman.
Yeah, he kind of had that. Or no, he was the doorman on the Jeffersons. I just want to
All
live
right.
where I have a
What
doorman.
do I know? Go ahead.
I am of the generation. I came to this through the TV show. I saw the TV show because I would have been, like 8 or 9 or 10 when the TV show came out, somewhere in that range. I haven't done the math. And we watched the TV show all the time. That was one of the. It was never apparently. I hadn't realized this. It was never a highly rated TV show. It was always just sort of lingering at the periphery of the ratings. But apparently, the reason they kept renewing it was it had the odd thing of it would do mediocre at best in the ratings, and then it would do great in summer reruns. So they kept renewing it because, hey, we're still getting viewership, we're still getting sponsor money, so it worked for them. But I watched that with with Tony Randal and Jack Klugman. That was, and then I probably was in high school maybe when I first saw the movie. I don't remember exactly, but it may have even been after I'd seen other Neil Simon stuff like The Goodbye Girl. I'm not totally sure, but I do love the movie. It has flaws. I think it would have been. Seeing it on Broadway would have been a magical experience. Seeing it as a movie was fun, but it clearly was a stage show. Some of the bits they added for the movie, for me at least, I can see why some people would feel differently, didn't really completely work. The whole thing being in the apartment, which is the way you staged a lot of stuff back then, would have worked fine. You can tell it was written that way. Neil Simon was a masterful writer. He was at his absolute peak when he wrote this. He was just on fire. He had about a 15-year run where he was just the American playwright, and several of those were translated to very successful movies. I mean, The Goodbye Girl won Oscars. I think Marsha Mason won her only Oscar for that as lead actress. Neil Simon's wife, not coincidentally. And the writing is what carries this movie. The performances are great. The direction is solid. But again, the direction is, I won't say simple. Directing is never simple. But the direction was straightforward because it was just a direction of largely a stage play with a lot of the same angle on that living room with the poker table. But I love great writing. That's really what it comes down to. And to me, that's what this movie is all about. And I can't fault Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau either. So it's not a perfect movie. I would have loved to have seen it as a play, but I still give it a solid 90.
90, very nice.
All right, so the blonde guy, by the way, was Herb Fielder. He is Piglet.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
where you know him from.
There
And
you
he
go.
I was
was,
on Star Trek, the original Star Trek.
and he also was on 2 episodes of the Odd Couple TV show, but as a different character.
And I will say, I loved Cecily and Gwendolyn. I thought, I remember seeing I remember hearing a radio show many years ago talking about West Side Story, about how when Bernstein was writing that, he all the tension there is in that music and in the show, everything's minor key, everything is really just building this tension, but you need a relief. And the 2 pieces he specifically wrote for that purpose were Officer Krupke and I Feel Pretty. And in this, it's the early scene with the Pigeon Sisters that relieves the tension. You just have these bubbly... Now, yes, it then gets serious as it goes on, but that completely breaks the tension for that 5-minute stretch in the middle of the film that I think it really needed.
Excellent.
All right. Stacy, Wade, scores.
It's us. What? Like I mentioned earlier that I love the opening sequence, seeing the long shots of New York City and from above, and the lights, and just the 50s. It looked clean.
Yeah.
It smelled nice. It does not. And I liked the scene, and I wanted to bring this up because the choreography of those poker players running around the apartment as they're trying to figure out what's going on with Felix. Should we call his wife? What do we do? I loved that whole sequence. I thought that was really, really good. I kind of lost it in the middle because I've seen it before, so I kind of got distracted. But it was great to have one in the background. And I know the movie, you know what I mean? Bill Mazeroski was a great thing in it, and because that Pittsburgh connection is always good. And Neil Simon, I find that a lot of his work was just good, just plain and simple good, and I enjoy him and know that I can usually put on some of his work and be entertained to some extent, and it's not going to be offensive. So I think my score is going to be an 87.
87.
87.
Are you FU or are you Ms. Pigeon? I guess he's FU.
Yeah,
Frank Underwood from House of
We're out of
Cards.
cornflakes.
Yeah.
FU.
Yeah, I laughed. When I caught that when he was saying it took me 3 hours to figure out that FU meant Felix Unger. I was like, oh,
He thought that was pretty funny.
That was pretty funny. So I figured I'd be
Because
FU.
that's who I'm going to be.
But yeah, I mean, I grew up watching the TV show too, like Dave was talking about. It just kind of, like you said, it was kind of there. It was something I would watch. It wasn't like one I had to go watch, but if it was on, I'd watch it. And then I don't remember when I really first saw the movie. If it was like the past 20 years or 30 years or maybe.
Since we had cable.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. And I think Walter Matthau in there was good. And I think Art Carney would have been really good in there too. But Jack Lemmon was really good with it. And it did.
Okay, we're going to call you Walter now. Or Oscar.
He's Waltering it.
So, yeah. So, and it was good. And I would watch it again. And but I'm going to give it an 80.
An 80. All right. Rebecca in the comments says a solid movie if you want to laugh. And Adam would say a laugh. And a good storyline. I think I have to give it an 83.
He has
You
to.
think you have to?
Has to.
And that's Rebecca's. And then we'll go over to Lemmon.
Lemony.
Oh my God.
Did you just get it?
Lemony Snicket.
Yes,
Oh.
Scott, I just got it. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
He's a bit sour.
So I saw this video on YouTube where Adam Savage actually went off to London, and you actually got to see the standard bars of metal that they use to measure what a yard is and what a meter is. They are over 200 years old. And that's kind of how I feel about this movie. Like, there are definitely scenes in it. Yeah, there's scenes in it that, probably have not aged as well, or like the timing is not as, it's not as ingrained in our brains anymore. But you know what? For the storyline, for the sketches that I saw that genuinely still made me laugh, like, yeah, it's the standard. If you are better than The Odd Couple as a comedy, then you are probably doing fairly well. And I could honestly say that there's a lot of movies over the last 10, 15 years that call themselves comedies that probably are not going to have the same impact on the culture. Granted, we are more of a TV culture, but I digress. I think that the most important thing about a comedy that has as many diverse little sketches and scenes as this is that it just has memorable moments that kind of stick with you. And they definitely are in there. And yeah, I think it's a fun laugh. It's definitely a movie that is meant to be seen in a theater with the amount of pauses and the amount of laughing you're supposed to have around you, which is what going to a movie used to mean, not watching something by yourself and wondering where the space is going. Yeah, I would say for a modern audience, it'll be a little slow, a little bumpy, but for me, I really fully accept it. And again, it's a great movie, so I'm going to give it an 88.
88. Amanda.
Yeah. Okay. So I have the perspective of having seen this for the first time, never having seen the TV series. In recollection, I believe I've seen clips from probably the play back in high school when I was in competitive speech and debate. And Jen and I did a lot of duo interpretation, which is basically like two people doing like acting out a scene, but both facing forward, and like this being a two-person comedy was, I think, a pretty common choice. So I've definitely seen people doing jokes from The Odd Couple, like in the high school forensics context. But this is my first time seeing the movie. As I mentioned, I think it suffered a lot for me from being a stage play that was more or less just ported over as a movie, rather than being really adapted to the medium of film in a way that took advantage of the benefits of being a movie. The basis also, as I think one thing that made me less fond of it was that the basis of the movie was pretty much people arguing the entire time, like the whole first section. Okay, the first bit was a little bit slow with like the suicide like I thought, as I mentioned earlier, that I thought it was kind of cool not knowing what he was doing and then finding it out later, but it did go on a bit long. Like I could have been like shortened to a decent chunk, but after that there was like 10 minutes people just like yelling at each other in a poker match, and then the rest of the movie was a lot of just the two main characters just yelling at each other the whole time, with like a few bits to break it up, but like it wasn't my favorite.
You described about most theater comedies, by the way.
I mean, sure, but not the ones that I like as much. Like I think my dad mentioned, like the intensity level was fairly high throughout, and then there were a few bits to break it up. But I think I would have appreciated like more highs and lows in like the intensity. But as I said, I really enjoyed the Pigeon Sisters moment. There were a few lines that I really liked. I liked when he was showing off a picture that you assumed was of his wife, and it was of his living room. I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. Like there were a few bits that I thought were really genuinely good, but overall,
does she have custody of the lamps?
Just echoes of things you see in other shows down the road.
Yeah, and like I definitely acknowledge that this was like a very influential movie. It's just watching, at some level, I have to judge it from the perspective of I am watching this in the year 2023 without any nostalgia, and I'm not gonna be unduly harsh to it. But on the other hand, it was a movie that was fine. I didn't dislike it, but it's not one I would seek out to watch again. So I'm gonna give it a 73.
73. Might be the second lowest score because we know Adam's going to be
I don't
below 70.
I might have boosted my score knowing what Adam was going to do.
Yeah, speaking of famous lines from the TV show, assume.
Yes.
An ass out of you and me. That is from The Odd Couple.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if it originated there, but that's certainly where I
first place I saw it.
Yeah.
So
oh,
stop it.
When you assume with the chalkboard,
oh yes,
you make an ass out of you and me.
That's right.
I
remember that.
So yeah, comedy wise, Adam's right. I will agree with Adam. It's not it's not a farce. It's not a sit down, laugh out loud, a lot of visual effects, a lot of gags. It's a good story that's humorous. There is also some, it's almost a dramedy. It's almost more like Eric had a cattail there. It's almost more like an Ally McBeal. There goes the cat the other way. Or even, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the TV show. I think is more entertaining, and there's just more meat on the bone. But like Scott says, this is like you measure a lot by this movie.
Yeah,
Like it's a classic. I haven't seen it in years and years and years, and it was fun to watch it again. So Dave, I thank you. And honestly, and my mom gave it a score as well. She's at her book club tonight, for real this time, and my mom wanted to give it a 91.
Nice.
And I am gonna kind of go.
You can't do that.
What's that?
You wanted to give it a 91, but you told her she loved it.
No, my mom gave it a 91, and I was thinking 91, but I think I don't want to go higher than the guy that picked it, so I'm gonna go 90 as well.
That's fair. That's fair. Nice, awesome.
We still have to have Adams and Eric's.
Yeah, we still need to hear from Adam, which will probably change the score a little bit here. Yeah, I agree with what everybody is saying. This is an enjoyable. I think that I don't know if I've ever seen this before, to be honest with you. I've seen parts of it. I just don't know if I've ever actually sat and watched the whole thing.
That's called an influential movie that you've never seen.
I feel
before.
like the writing and the humor to this is timeless for a play, but it's not for a movie. Right? So it feels dated as a movie, but I agree with what Amanda was saying, that I think that if I went and saw this exact same dialogue on a stage, I would probably laugh out loud.
Yeah,
In my living room, it's enjoyable though, right? Like it's a very enjoyable movie, and it is excellently done. And these are, of course, so many people in their prime. So if you are a huge fan of Grumpy Old Men, this gives you context for that relationship of the people you're seeing, or even Dennis the Menace, right? Walter Matthau's posture in this movie makes me crazy. But it's like, oh, will you please stand up? But apparently, no, he has a back injury from the war. And they said that he probably also leaned into it quite a bit, due to the character he was playing. But nonetheless, I think it's great. I think it's I think it's good. Definitely worth seeing. I think it's a great read. I think, as I said, I would really enjoy. I would definitely give the play a 90, but this I ended up at an 82. I think it's totally worth watching, whether it's something I'll ever watch again on purpose. But if I was tied up and somebody made me watch it, I wouldn't be upset. So speaking of being upset,
not going to bash the movie, just didn't enjoy it. 30.
Yeah, it's not for him, is what he's saying.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying. And
Yes.
that's
one interesting thing was, did anybody else notice how long the opening credits were?
Yes.
Because they would show a credit, and then they would do like a minute or 2 minute scene, and then it would show another credit. It was the first 5 minutes of the movie to get through the credits.
It was like the opposite of 2000s comedies. Like, oh, here are all these sketches that we didn't put in the film. 30 credits.
One thing they changed for the TV show was they made Oscar, instead of being a sports writer, he's a photographer.
right.
Mainly sports, because he's a photographer. And
I thought he
in
was
the movie that preceded
No,
this
he's a
with Lemmon-
sportscaster still. Oscar is still a sportscaster.
Yeah, I think Felix.
Felix is the photographer. That's
right.
That's right. Sorry, you're right. And then in the movie that preceded this with Matthau and Lemmon, Jack Lemmon plays a cameraman on the sidelines of a football game.
Yeah.
And that's the whole setup of the movie, is he's injured by a football player who runs into him. And his brother-in-law, charlatan shyster lawyer, is trying to convince him to, sue and milk it for all he can.
I thought that was his name, charlatan shyster lawyer.
That's a shingle to stand out there.
Fantastic name. All right, The Odd Couple.
Ooh,
disagreeing with the credits quite a bit here. 79.40. Coming right beneath The Bishop's Wife.
Well, you look at how many movies we have crammed in the 75 to 80 range.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
And it's just
I
a
was
ton,
thinking
yeah.
Oh yeah. Our 70s are there's a lot in there, and this is at the very peak.
Higher than Hoosiers. Jeez.
So there you go. But nicely done. I said it's enjoyable. I enjoyed watching it, and it's nice because it's not 3 hours long.
Did we ever see what Felix did for a living in the movie? We know what Oscar did. What
He
He
writes
did the news.
He writes the
Oh,
news.
he did say he wrote the news. Yeah, because
Oh,
the
that's right.
sisters asked him.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
was trying to
sisters
remember.
ask him what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes up one other time too.
But that's why Oscar can afford that apartment. He said he's like one of the highest paid sports writers for the last 14 years.
Yes.
So yeah. That's why he can afford a nice 8-bedroom or 8-bedroom.
Well,
8-room
what
New
I
York
thought was
apartment.
what I thought was interesting because it's clearly like nothing has changed since his wife left him. Because it's like there's an armoire full of china and there's all this frilly lamps and all this other stuff. Where clearly, like
he has no ambition.
He has no
Keep
ambition.
out written on the door.
You know.
And just such subtleties as did you see sort of the dirt stain around the doorknob and lock on the door?
Yeah, absolutely. And the linguini against the wall. Okay. So,
Things that you would only see in a movie.
Well, he just starts laughing when he calls it spaghetti. What's so funny? It's not spaghetti. It's linguini.
When he threw that and it stayed on the wall, I was just like, it was just too much.
Stacey's traumatized.
I could smell it. I could smell it.
Smell it.
I don't know why. That just really bugged me.
So next week is not our TV show week.
That is correct.
Next week is one more movie.
That's right.
And then we will select the double feature next week.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
We selected the week before
Yes.
the TV
Right.
show. So we have 2 whole weeks.
That's right.
There
So
it
we will
is.
select the double feature next week, but right now we get to select one movie.
Yeah.
Yay.
One person.
Not me.
Yay.
One movie.
Probably
One
not
person.
Dave.
Not
Who
me.
knows?
Not
Could be
Dave.
Dave. You know, it's always a chance, shall we?
Sorry,
Now,
Dave,
if
we
I
can't
come up,
let you do
respin.
Always a chance.
It's always,
quite
if
the
you're
run.
saying there's a chance. All right, let's go. Feliz Navidad. Okay.
Sure.
All right, here we go.
I see my name on there. It's right. It's right there in the like around 7:00.
You've got
Yeah.
one spot.
Wow,
Boy.
Dave.
Here we go. Let's
We got a
do
big.
this.
You have us on a really big screen. What's that noise?
That's a
I know.
People are
weird sound
excited.
effect.
People are
Yeah.
just excited. They can't wait to find out what Amanda
Oh,
Amanda,
choose.
Amanda,
Oh man.
Amanda, no.
Keep it in the family.
You made a promise.
oh, don't worry. I have not forgotten. I
Oh,
am.
no.
I am
I think
on
you're-
board with that. Actually,
Your last film was Into the
Are we
Spider-Verse.
doing
wasn't
it? Are you Amanda? Your word, Amanda?
Amanda, your word.
Yeah. So I don't know if anyone else remembers this, but
I don't remember.
Scott and I had agreed that whichever one of us came up next on the wheel, we would pick the recent Cats musical.
My invisible arms are raised.
I do remember that.
Yes.
Yes. So I will say this is not a good movie. It's a movie I find deeply fascinating. I have watched hours of YouTube analysis videos about this TV musical. I find it really interesting what it is and how it got made.
Wait, so
So, like,
just to be
It's not a
clear,
good movie. but
2019.
It's an interesting movie to talk about.
I'm so excited.
Oh, we couldn't get it.
Have fun, Adam. It's gonna be good.
Oh wow. Bravo.
it? All right, you're out of my will.
I was in your will.
Adam,
We
Adam.
couldn't play.
I said,
Wow.
I'm so
you
sorry,
may give
Adam.
you may give a higher score, Adam.
It's okay. You can blame Scott as well as me. You don't have
Wow.
to- You can.
This is the one with James
need to
Corden,
apply.
Oh
correct?
yeah,
Yep.
Yes,
Taylor
and
Swift.
Judy
Taylor Swift. It's our
All
first
your favorite
Taylor Swift
actors.
movie.
that's true.
So
Taylor
it
Swift
looks like
is
it's
in
only
this
available
movie.
on Max or Apple TV.
Which my Max subscription just.
But you should be able. I think you can like rent it from most rental places for like $3-4.
You can actually find this at most
We're not
adult
paying
film
for that.
stores.
Giving it
too.
away
Hey,
at
Eric's
your local
Cabin
animal
Juice.
shelter.
We could do a screening party and do it offline.
Yeah.
It is the kind of movie that's much more fun to watch with other people.
And
sit and watch 2019 Cats by yourself.
This means nothing to anybody, but I did not hate this.
That's interesting.
Well, it's Taylor Swift. How could you?
I had my sister over last year for a viewing party, and it was quite enjoyable. But
I know you were supposed to hate it.
And
the only problem I have is when James Corden's characters, the cat gets in a car and they start doing carpool karaoke. I'm like, cats can't drive. He's got tunes from SNL.
The song is "Cats Don't Dance."
I'm not really a big fan of this musical to begin with, and then the movie.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't dislike the base musical. I actually kind of enjoy the.
I don't hate it, but I don't really like it.
I love how we're reviewing this movie now.
We're in shock.
The watch along could actually be fun.
It definitely.
Yes, I agree.
Sadly, I'm not available. I'm leaving for LA tomorrow morning. But
you liar!
LA.
Boo!
I have a lot of work. I'm bowling tomorrow night.
He's getting a lot of work done to his face.
I might go hit the
You
ticket
have a
line
sign
on
with a
Friday.
cat sign saying, "This is why we're striking."
You can't cross the finish line. So
see, 53% audience score is actually surprisingly high.
Look at the audience coming in at a 53.
I would have expected 53.
Which is still
19%. 80 points less.
Oh, I'm so excited about this. This is the best news ever.
Wow.
This is why we do this.
All right, Arnie.
God disappears into lemons.
Drop the lemons. Drop the lemons, Scott.
The nice thing is that who's that girl on our chart is sitting at a 23. So
yes, I'm curious.
That's a benchmark there.
Who's that girl a run for?
This is a different kind of yardstick.
Yeah, you know where you can stick it.
But we
Howard the
can't,
Duck
unfortunately,
used to
we can't watch the butthole cut, so you know.
Howard the Duck used to be our
post.
yardstick.
My only request is that y'all watch the Cats PSAs in lieu of a short to the beginning of this movie, because oh my goodness, the Cats PSAs with the Broadway Cats is
those are so good.
Hilarious. An accident. The humans had an accident.
Cats have 9 lives. Children only have 1. They're so
This happened. We let this happen. Well, I didn't. I wasn't born yet, but you guys did.
This is going to be the choice that forces Eric and Dan to change the rules.
I'm so excited about this.
I was actually watching like a Cats movie analysis video like earlier this week, and they were talking about how the director someone had to convince the director that it was not okay to ask the actors to land on all fours like cats do because they would break their wrists. That this absurd dedication to realism in cats.
I will share this since some of you have not seen this before. I will share my impression of what I watched.
I've never seen the whole thing. Full confession.
Like the first third of it was like, oh my gosh, this is awful and stupid, and what is going on here? They all look ridiculous. But once you get used to how everybody looks, and you just sort of go into it and just kind of accept that that's the world, I had no trouble with it. I enjoyed it.
It's like going into your first gay club.
Okay.
All right, Scott.
It sounds like
no one else is gone? Okay.
What's really in your background, Scott?
What's really in my background?
Lemons.
Lemons.
Oh. Artificial sweetener.
And then remember when The Odd Couple was a TV show, how Tony Randall was on every game show.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So was Jack Klugman. He was married to what's your name?
Brett Summers.
Brett Summers.
Yeah.
All right.
Who was
I'm so happy. Thank
She
you.
played Blanche too, I think.
I tried to change the subject. You keep pulling it back, Scott.
So what else are you watching?
We'll have enough of that next week. Well, more than enough of that next week.
Taylor Swift is coming to Seattle. Guess what else she's in?
Let's go.
All right, so I'll start. Josh and I spent the evening in Seattle on Friday. He had a American University send-off, like a local, other kids from area, alumni.
The kids from fame.
But it was like at 10 a.m. So I had to cancel Clutch, and then we're like, let's just spend the night in Seattle and go see a movie and have some dinner. And so we went to the big AMC theater we'd never been to, and we saw Mission Impossible.
Oh,
Holy crap, is that good?
really?
Really?
Yeah, it is.
And there's laughter. Like at one point, Josh leans over and goes, "Is there a laugh track?" I'm like, "No, those are the people in the theater."
Wow.
There's actually parts of it that are really funny.
Huh.
And I recommend it highly. I can't wait for the sequel to come out. When they finish it, they had to stop production this week.
Yeah.
But
Obviously.
not the sequel,
you
but the second
see-
part.
But have you seen the picture of Tom Cruise with his stunt doubles? Have you seen this picture that's been going around?
What is it? Him?
It's a little creepy.
Oh, that's
That's
Whoa.
deep fake. But
Those are
yes.
all him. That's
I'm
the joke.
that's amazing.
I'm
like,
astonished they have all
what?
their fingers.
I'm kidding.
All his sons.
And one of them is Danny DeVito.
I know.
He-
Wait, here's
No,
the real
one's
picture.
Tracy
There's
Morgan.
the real picture. There it is.
Now you leave the dame alone. I love Judi Dench.
I love
Stop.
I love Judi Dench too, but that was
This is
not,
not
a
her
good
best
choice.
choice.
That poor thing.
A cat
Proof
is
that
not
people
a
will do
dog.
things for money that they wouldn't normally do.
That's the scene from the new James Bond movie. Actually, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She's dead.
You
No,
Let
she
me her
isn't.
back up. She has 9 lives. She has 9 lives.
Right, for 9 lives. It's the only way you can become.
Judi Dench is furry finger.
Oh my
Wow.
Okay, let's cue
I
the
could have said
theme.
furry
Well,
pussy, but I
Lord,
didn't.
come on.
Furry finger.
He's got a finger.
Meow,
That's
meow,
furry.
meow.
Yeah, now it sounds like Mr. Rogers. Meow meow James Bond. Meow meow.
Meow, 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 meow. Wow.
But the cool thing about the movie, about 20 minutes in, like they do the whole beginning of the movie, and I'm like, okay, this is not good. And then all of a sudden it's like bam, 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 bam. It's like 20 minutes in the movie, they did the opening credits.
I hate
That's
that.
awesome.
It was
Mm.
awesome.
That's awesome.
It's like an intermission, you know.
Yeah, it was like it's 2 hours and 58 minutes, I think.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately,
It's
it'll
almost
be
3
more
hours.
enjoyable for me than Indiana Jones.
I didn't see Indiana Jones, but that was our other option.
Mhm.
But
You
we're
made the
very
right
excited
choice.
to go see Barbie and Oppenheimer. But we're confused what order, because you don't want to take them out of order because it might
Well,
screw up the
Barbie has
story of
less
the other
humanity.
one.
That's fair.
But Oppenheimer looks amazing too.
Oppenheimer is going to be like the Humanity Sucks movie. So if you want to be uplifted, go see Barbie
Well, I did-
afterwards.
That's a story. I'm fascinated to see the movie just because the story is so fascinating.
Yeah.
I never quite finished. I did start American Prometheus when I was working at a prior job, but then the book disappeared and I never restarted it. But Oppenheimer's just such a fascinating story.
And my introduction to him was actually epic rap battles. So I've been waiting for this movie for a while.
Reagan likes those. Reagan watches
Yeah.
those. Her favorite
Oppenheimer
is-
versus Thanos.
Those are fun.
You should watch
I
it.
don't know
It's
if
funny.
you've seen that one. I'll have to look at that.
Did
They're-
watch
they're-
the first episode of Psych. So
Oh,
I finally
yeah.
started.
We have not yet.
I haven't even started.
So the connection to Psych I wanted to give is coming soon. Oh, you guys stop saying that.
Wow. Teaser much?
Is that a
This
good
will be an
tease?
EriDan part 2.
We have to get our 10 viewers to come back next week.
You got to get the Patreon. You have to be part of the Patreon to find out the rest of Dan's story.
And what dark secret is EriDan hold? Find out next week on.
You won't believe number 5.
Maybe I'll
What?
give it. Hold on. I just want to verify it before
Okay.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Well, he's doing that. We watched the new Mario movie last night with our son.
That's a good movie.
Yes.
Okay.
It's serviceable.
Did you ever play the video games?
No. Well,
Okay.
no, I won't say that. I was asking a lot lot of questions. I'm like, is that in the game?
Yeah, and that's kind of the movie. It's like
It would have been a perhaps mildly enjoyable film if you just weren't. If you've played the video games, it's a lot more fun, no question.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, I've watched them play the video
Bah,
games.
bah,
I have
bah.
not played normally myself because I'm not very good at it and I don't care. But they
Mhm.
Wow. How do you really feel?
Yeah, speaking to Adam's comment, I really do want to see Asteroid City.
Oh, actually, we watched that. Just last
That's
night.
because Scarlett Johansson's in it.
Yes,
And she's naked.
yes, she is for a moment. Or somebody is.
No, it's her right after she had the baby.
Well, there you go.
How do you? How
I
can
mean,
you tell
right
she had a
after
baby?
like 5 minutes.
Even without that, is an incredibly enjoyable movie. It is super weird. It is.
Oh yeah. Well, it's Wes Anderson. He doesn't make
it's
normal
Wes
movies.
Anderson being as Wes Anderson-y as he could possibly be. Like there's just no apologizing. So if you don't like that,
Oh my God, we have
Star
the echo.
Wars? What?
It's still doing it.
Trilogy.
Fluckerschnoodle.
Eric doesn't even know what happened.
I have no idea what happened. I didn't experience it.
That's crazy. You did a lot of at signs.
You went at.
Wow.
A lot of ats.
I had no
Oh my God, you were the alien from Mars Attacks.
No, that was ack.
Wow.
You got to see
A movie weird even for Tim Burton.
Yeah, this beatnik alien. That's what Eric was at.
Anyway, if you like Wes Anderson, you should watch this movie.
Usually, if his movies are like between 70 and 80, that's how I know it's good. Because it isn't like, him trying to appease somebody up.
Oh, no. There's no trying to appease the mainstream in this movie.
Yay.
Well,
It is
apparently,
weird.
from what I read,
He went as hard into it as he possibly could.
From what I read, independent films that aren't affiliated with major studios shouldn't be affected by the actor strike.
They have to be
Adam
very
plays Mario
independent.
games.
Yeah.
Was greatness. Okay.
You probably have to not have a distribution deal with a major studio then.
Yes.
I feel like. Go ahead.
But the writers still can't write.
Yes, the writers still can't write.
So you
The
can't
haters
change.
just can't hate. Go ahead.
Yeah.
This
And
is gonna be
you
hard.
can't shop. That's the biggest problem right now. All shopping is
You.
dead.
I shopped just earlier today.
Well, I mean, I was at the
Crossed
store earlier,
line. You crossed the shopping line.
but yes, limbo is a horrible place to be sitting in.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like literally how I feel right now.
At
man.
least,
It's like-
at least you're not relying on it to pay your bills right now, Dan.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. And
Those are the people I feel for.
and the studio executive that came out and said, "Oh, when they start losing their houses, they'll come back to the table."
Yeah, that's just so scummy.
It's so scummy, but he also forgets that like Chuck Lorre and Judd Apatow and Larry David are all members of the
writers.
Writers Guild,
Yeah.
and they could keep this thing afloat for 20 years with the money they have.
Yeah.
And there's a
They
fund
care.
for everybody to be taken care of.
Well, that depends upon what happens with Larry David and his crypto lawsuits, but still.
Yeah, he's a paid actor. That's so stupid.
In his case, yes. If he was not paid, if he was not shilling it, if he was just a paid actor on the commercial, then it's nothing.
He was.
But some of these guys were shilling it online and posting on all
Yes,
their social
Tom Brady
media
was.
and-
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
Brady
right.
was.
Nice to see him lose something.
Besides the supermodel wife, you mean?
Yeah, but he'll just get another one.
He'll just go to the vending machine and get another supermodel wife.
Oh God.
Maybe lose a hair.
Actually, on a global scale, his wife is actually more famous than he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anything, she has a supermodel boyfriend.
This is true.
She has a Ken.
We said that already,
On
Eric.
this one.
At. I think that's what you were saying. That Iron Man 2. Forgot how crappy a villain Mickey Rourke
I
was.
don't hate Iron Man 2. I have no problems with Iron Man.
Mickey
Name
Rourke
drop. Eugene Laslev, my 310 professor in film, is the old man who dies in Iron Man 2.
Wow.
I don't think Iron Man 2 is a bad movie, but it's not that good. And you can tell Mickey Rourke wasn't really fully engaged. Let's put it that way.
Has he
No.
ever been?
Yeah, he's never been.
Well, that's the whole point of the wrestler.
Oh, by the way, you did do a name drop.
This name drop is sponsored in part by Celebrity Crotch Scented Candles. Get one for your room for a night that goes boom. Now available in Kevin James scent.
Incidentally, wrestler is actually the flavor of Mickey Rourke's scented candle.
And George the Animal Steals.
I thought it was Fremunda cheese.
Ramunda.
Has anyone ever seen Ed Wood, the movie Ed Wood?
Yes.
Because who is it that plays Tor Johnson? Which wrestler was it that played Tor Johnson in there? He is such a dead ringer for Tor Johnson. It is a great, great casting. Was that George the Animal Steel?
It is George the Animal Steel.
Yeah, because that is, you see him and then you see pictures of Tor Johnson and you go, that is amazing. They looked so much alike.
It's uncanny.
Yeah. Fun movie.
And
one
honestly,
of the more bizarre Johnny Depp films.
I was just amazed that Hulk Hogan looked like Hulk Hogan in Rocky 3.
Yeah, he has not aged terribly well.
AI
Never has his words.
Oh
my gosh.
Well, wrestling, whether how real or unreal you believe it is, it takes a toll on your body, man. You see the torture that Andre the Giant was going through late in his career, where he could barely lift his arms. He was just in so much pain.
Well, yeah, because you had to go out and perform, and on top of that,
and he was just huge. I mean, that's a lot of bulk to carry around.
Yeah, and there were two main things pushing that. Number one, everyone had to be on steroids because the bigger you were, the more likely you were to get hired, and as a result, your body was hurting. So in turn, you had to take painkillers, and just kept mounting and mounting and mounting. That's where a lot of those problems came in. The entire wrestler film is all about Chris Benoit and Ric Flair and all those guys. No, I would say actually Black Swan's about Chris Benoit. But the wrestler is any wrestler that retired in the late 90s, early 2000s. I will now spare Dan my conversation about wrestlers.
Well, was there anything ever more bizarre though than the Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler whole thing?
Right?
When they were on Letterman, that was just golden, man.
Oh, he totally played that up too. And that's one of the most annoying things about Man on the Moon, the Truman movie.
That they couldn't,
they couldn't actually how about you show us stuff that we thought happened but didn't happen? But no, it's just playing the hits.
Yeah.
Here, this is the thing I was going to share earlier. We were talking about sounding like a podcast. I forget what we did. We did something about a podcast, and I was like, I want to show this.
That
clip
smells
later.
like Teen Spirit. It sounds like podcast.
Yes. Yeah. What do you got?
This guy.
Can I play it right now? Okay. We've already been visited by time travelers, and there's evidence of it. Chris is walking out because I already took him down this rabbit hole earlier, and he does not want to do it again. That's okay. Go. Okay. A lot of people think that if we're going to be visited by a time traveler, they're going to come from the future. But what if they came from the past? Ready for this? The Library of Alexandria burnt down almost 2,000 years ago. The Colossus of Rhodes collapsed in an earthquake in 226 BC. So how do we know about them? Right? Let that sink in. How do we know about them destroyed in their time? It's one thing for us to dig up an artifact today and observe it and learn about it, right? But the library and the Colossus were destroyed in their time. So the only way for us to know about it is if someone came from the past to tell us about it.
It's called a book.
Then you start to ask, well, how could they have time travel in the past, but we don't have it today when we are far more advanced? Well, if you had the secret to time travel.
Okay, hold on. Let me find another one here.
This guy would love Indiana Jones 5.
What? This is one of my favorite paradoxes. Humans could not have traveled to the moon unless we had already traveled to the moon.
I'm losing brain cells.
In order to
every
make that trip,
I watch this. What is this?
Chris is leaving because I've been
It's
talking
a
about
parody
paradoxes all week, and he's sick of it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
He's a Canadian.
He's got a
comedian.
In order to make the trip
But
to
it's
the
not
moon,
funny,
you
it's
need to
just
know
weird.
exactly how much fuel it requires.
Would you?
Where's my moon rock? Should I pick up my moon rock?
Can I blow your mind right now? Okay. Giants used to walk the earth, and there is tangible evidence of it. So we all know the Colossus of Rhodes, right? You can look this up if you don't. It was a massive 150-foot tall statue that stood in the port of Rhodes in ancient Greece.
Allegedly.
Okay? It allegedly collapsed in an earthquake. And yet we never found any rubble. Let that sink in.
Let that sink in.
Okay, and if you really want to go down this rabbit hole with me, Chris is leaving. He
His
just got
third
here. He's
pair
already
of
leaving because
glasses.
he knows where I'm going with this.
This is a smart
Ask
one.
any
Do.
Egyptologist.
That's
that
like
you know,
Airplane.
and they will tell you that Cleopatra's father was exiled to Rhodes when she was a child. So is it not possible? Think about this. Is it not possible that while the future queen of Egypt was living in Rhodes with her father, encountering one or more massive creatures, that she would not employ them later on to help build the pyramids? We don't know how they built the pyramids.
Yes, we do.
And it was thousands of years
A
before
guy-
Cleopatra.
Can I blow your mind right now?
He stores all his BS.
So the
in
moon
his
is
chin.
384,000 kilometers away.
All right. I just
That's funny.
it's like the first time I saw him, I same thing. I'm like, this guy's a douche. Like, what is he talking about? And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. And I started watching. He's always got this Chris character. He's like, oh, Chris already heard me go down this rabbit hole. He's leaving. Or Chris has to go pick his kid up at school. Or when I was driving Chris home this morning, it's just this. And he's talking to nobody. That's what's so wonderful about it.
Is it possible that this Chris is actually Jesus? Think about it.
Let that
This is
sink
his
in.
last name.
Let this
Think
sink in
about
for a
it.
second.
Let it sink in.
I can't
His last
see
name
shit.
was Christ. And if
Allegedly.
you wanted to say Christ and you had a lisp, would you say Chris? Think about it. We've all been there.
Wow.
Oh my
He's
god.
talking to God.
Wow.
Well,
That's fascinating.
Reagan is at the beach.
Oh,
jealous.
man.
She's not in the picture. This is the picture she took.
Uh,
Guy with
Just a
his
lamp in the living
surfboard.
room. Yes.
Yes. Wow.
I see a
And
shark.
yet she wishes she was here with us.
She does.
I know. It's hard.
So, one other programming note, because I like giving programming notes.
Sure, who doesn't like getting a programming note?
You want to go down this rabbit hole? So let this sink in. Saturday, Rafi and I will be at the NHRA Nationals at the big Pacific Raceways. Adam is going to be joining us. He'll be in the stand somewhere. Hopefully, we'll get to find him.
Unless this week's movie kills him.
That's true. Watch it after Saturday. And then Josh and I discussed doing one more trip before he goes off to college. And we just picked a random city. And I used my MVP status on Alaska and my $99 companion fare and got us a ticket for both of us, actually, to go to a mystery town, which I will not say where it is. But I think I'm going to have to do the show on Monday, the 7th of August, from this mystery city.
Mystery City.
Where in the world?
So
They might not even have Wi-Fi in Mystery City.
They don't have Wi-Fi
They
in
must-
Mystery City.
That's
How
right.
about Asteroid City?
Adam wants to know if he needs earplugs for Saturday
Good idea.
and for the movie Cats. But I tell you, folks,
And a blindfold.
you want to feel the movie.
Also, bring a giant.
They sell them
rubber
there, Adam,
suit.
but I would get some good earplugs.
Speaking of earplugs.
Hello, I'm not Johnny Cash. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Oh, come on, Barbie, let's go party, 'cause I'm in a Barbie world.
Johnny Cash in drag coming to Seattle.
Adam, we are not going to New Orleans. We're going to a city I've never been to, and obviously Josh has never been to.
It's called Catsville.
Wow.
That would be appropriate.
Laredo.
I've been to Laredo.
Oh.
I think I've driven through there.
Yes. What's wrong with TikTok, Tom? I have no idea.
I love TikTok.
I know, right?
Are you ticked for talking?
I love this show, and the men. It is perfect evolution of beard growth. Well, if we had Adam on here,
then we'd be really
we do have almost every version.
Every imaginable.
We've got stubble. We've got a
I need
beard.
to be over here. I need to be over here.
We have a
You need to be
mustache.
over there.
Now start with Amanda in the corner.
There you go.
Yeah, can you start? Oh,
No,
oh.
wait.
Come
You
on,
go
stop.
ahead and do it. You do it. I'll stop.
And then you have to put. There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
And then there.
This is like a weird sliding puzzle.
What's happening here?
That's the order right there.
We need Adam.
Yeah, Adam's not on.
We need Adam
Can
for
you
the
put one of
ultimate.
his? Can't you put one of his comments up? His
No.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You have a little.
There we go. And there it is.
Wow.
Stacey, we're not saying that you have facial hair, but you're older, so you might. You're older than Amanda.
I am just invisible in this picture. It's him.
Yeah, that's
how I took it. That's how I took it.
Wow.
You can shave my head, undress me in your bed.
For some reason, Adam hates some guy named Al. Who's Al?
Yeah, Al is the worst.
You know something? Weird
That
Al
guy
is the
didn't
best
sound
Johnny
like
Cash
Johnny
impersonator
Cash
ever.
anyway.
I'm kind of insulted.
Wow.
Wow.
All right.
Well, okay then.
Yay!
The most joyful event of the holiday
Make
season.
its money.
The only thing that would make that picture better is if just the angle, if there were an arrow coming through her chest from the back, like
The poor thing has a hairball.
That thing has balls around its neck.
I
Does
see.
that one have a digitally removed butthole?
Make it
I don't know. Flip
tricky.
it over. No, it's not. Flip it. Please don't.
The other cat left. He's like, I don't want to be on there.
No. Smart.
Knocking the world
Everybody
around.
that has two cats always has one cat that's always there and one cat that no one else sees.
They're both always right here.
But when company comes over, there's always one like kind
Yeah,
of missing.
They used to be, but the older one was always like that, and now he's brave. And the
Oh.
little one is like, "Hello, I am cute, and please pet me." So
I now have
Hard to
Johnny
argue
Cash
with,
Barbie
yeah.
Girl stuck in my head.
Actually, that mix goes into additional songs as well.
Oh, yeah?
It's really good. It "Wanna Be" by the Spice Girls and a couple of others.
If you wanna be.
Yeah.
Tell
One
me
other
love
one,
will come.
totally off the cuff, odd couple bit of trivia. I was doing a look because when I brought it up on IMDb, I thought that's a really nice movie poster. I love the movie poster. It was almost Norman Rockwell-esque, the style that was used on it.
Mhm.
But when I Googled it, there were 3 or 4 different posters made. And Felix is the same on all of them, but they repainted Oscar. In one, he's standing beside him looking like a slob. In one, he's laying back with his feet up on the coffee table. And they just, for whatever reason, they did several different posters and changed Oscar in each one.
Interesting.
And for some reason, $1,400, you can have a poster.
An original.
Well, that's
Signed. Oh, it's signed. Okay.
what is signed. Okay, all
That
right.
explains the present.
Signed by 2 dead actors. So, yeah.
or it's just signed by somebody who lives in Australia.
There's
It's
that.
not that Jack Lemmon, but it's Jack Lemmon.
You don't get the Jack Lemmon.
There's a different version. There's a different version, but you're right. Felix is the same.
Yeah.
That's the one I remember seeing.
I think that was the most common from when it was around here. Yeah.
Even more funny on the screen than it was as a Broadway and city-to-city stage smash.
Smash.
I don't know that it was uproariously funny.
I don't think anybody wanted to smash after watching it.
There she is. She was actually there.
Hey.
Whoa, look at that proof.
She just got there like an hour and a half ago. They've been driving from Colorado for days.
Where is
Oh,
this?
wow.
She's in Santa Cruz, California. And
Oh,
she'll be
cool.
there through until
You
August.
spent a
15th.
summer there,
I
Amanda.
was just going to say, I spent the summer in Santa Cruz.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
a great
there's
place.
that.
They had-
Well, that one is weird because that one is mostly the
Oh,
same.
that's such a strange one. Why is
You just changed the arms. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is
But no.
Barbenheimer.
weird
This
that
is
he's holding
Barbenheimer.
his arm up? I'm not sure what
The
that's.
Odd Couple and Rosemary's Baby.
Yes. What a great pairing.
Picture of all time.
Yeah, there you go.
Now look, there. Now the beards are all there.
Woo!
Oh, yay!
There he is.
It'd be really great. Man. Yeah.
You can grow a beard.
You can throw a beer, make it mighty weird.
There you go. Polar Nights, thank you so much for making that observation.
Fantastic.
All right.
There's a lot going on. All right. Well,
and with that, we
I'm
prepare
just
to
going
watch
time
Cats.
for the second night.
I want O Fortuna playing as we start talking about this movie.
I gotta tell you.
Oh,
that cast of characters.
Like I said, just picture an arrow going right through her body, and it works perfectly.
What part of her body, Dave?
Yeah, Rebel Wilson's
dark.
character is kind of the worst one.
Adam,
Dark.
I'm with you, buddy.
Ian McKellen's in it. Poor guy.
Yeah, he's
Hey, at least he's acting with humans in this. Apparently.
Judy Dench and Ian
I don't want
McKellen.
to
What were they
go.
thinking?
There's the other cat.
Everybody in there.
It actually lost money.
Yep. I mean, yeah, because it was, yeah.
You see?
They were really
Also,
counting on it
this
being a big
movie-
hit.
This movie has the distinction of officially making Idris Elba unsexy in a film.
Or something.
This has been a rough summer at the box office. There have been a lot of
Yeah.
big movies that have crashed and burned.
I also highly recommend, if you guys want to have a little education about the movie and how it got made and what it got wrong, you should definitely watch the Lindsay Ellis YouTube review of it from 4 years ago. It's called "Why Is Cats." She got nominated for a Peabody for a bunch of her videos. It's a really, really good breakdown.
That was the one I watched recently that had the tidbit about the actors landing on their all fours, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good one. Definitely recommend.
Talking about Tom Hooper trying to
Yeah.
break what he doesn't like about musicals and
And it talks
Yeah.
about like both the why of the Angela Weber original stage musical versus the why of this movie, and kind of comparing.
Exactly.
Yeah, which I think which was really interesting.
it's a really, really good video. If you guys have 40 minutes.
You're lucky I'm watching this movie in the first place, much like everything else.
How long is the movie?
As
Too long.
long as Adam's beard.
Oh.
An hour and 50 minutes.
Oh, okay. At least it's under 2 hours. I give them credit.
But
for
it's
that.
like the Babadook. It doesn't feel like an hour 50.
If
Feels like
Adam
5
thought he
hours.
could shorten the movie, he might shave his beard.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought, okay, I have 2 flights this week. Maybe I'll watch this. No, I'm not going to watch this on an airplane.
You should just announce it. Hey, everybody, I'm watching Cats. Let's look over my shoulder.
The plane may crash.
If you want
No,
to
I
have
mean-
empty seat on either side of you, just put on Cats.
Well, it's if you want to get up and get out, walk out of the film, you can't do it when you're on an airplane.
I mean, you can stop the movie. It's not like
I know that's the old joke. I got up and walked out. I was on an airplane.
Yeah. Only 2 walkouts.
That was one of the things they were talking about that Charlie Matthau, Walter Matthau's son, was talking about in his extra. Was he was a real fan of just old corny jokes, and he said one of his favorites, and it became one of Jack Lemmon's, was an Irishman walks out of a bar.
It could happen. Mike Menzer wrote that joke.
Hey!
That's a distinct possible. Oh man.
Yeah, I always thought
Adam reminds me of this character from this book. I'm sorry. I have to. This is one of my favorite books from when I was a kid, and every time I see Adam live and in person, I'm like, he looks like Mr. Whiskers.
Mr. Whiskers.
Am I a cat?
My kids still say I look like Hagrid.
Yes. Yeah.
I think you need to get one of those beanies, those Christmas beanies, and pull it all the way down to your nose, and then you can be one of those gnomes.
Oh my god.
There we go.
What hotel are you in this week, Adam?
He's trying to do the forced perspective here.
This is gonna be amazing.
Are you at a hotel again?
Yeah! They look really grumpy, like you just saw cats.
No, I'm at home.
Oh, you're
I
home.
just got home. Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
What time? What time does it open on Saturday?
I have no idea.
You don't know? Okay, I'll find out.
It
Yes.
cats o'clock.
Milk o'clock.
It's
If
early.
your cat's giving you the look like you need to feed it, that's what time it is.
You ever wonder if Andrew Lloyd Webber went through some iterations on this? Like, the first version was otters. And then he tried like ferrets.
No, because it was based on a book of poems about cats.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, okay.
Why ask questions to answers you already know? Or are you just afraid to admit it?
It says 8 a.m., Adam.
Okay.
That would be so fascinating.
And it's very, 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 very loosely based on the book of poems.
Oh, totally. Actually, he wrote the song "Memory" he just wrote the melody, and he kind of kept it in the back for like something. He's like, I'm going to use this later, and they didn't have a finale for the show when it opened in Britain, so he just said, okay, we're using this. And he was like writing the lyrics and getting it all down the right way, like leading up to opening night that day.
Good night. I'm sorry, good.
At the Oasis.
Yeah, Barry Manilow recorded, had a nice big hit with Memory. But that helps you enjoy the movie anymore.
No, I think Adam has it right. The only thing to enjoy the movie more is heavy drinking.
Indeed.
It's just sad.
I will get high for this.
Or take some LSD.
Oh, geez.
I think that might be too dangerous.
This is going to be fantastic. I'm so excited.
Snagglepuss in the sky with diamonds. All right, what time are we doing this?
Are you going to do a screening?
We should do a watch party. We should absolutely do.
Someone has to organize it.
Amanda?
I can only do it on Sunday.
And I'm busy Sunday evening.
Yeah, my schedule's a little wonky this weekend.
Well, so much for that.
I could do Friday or Saturday if we want to do something.
Way to coordinate, Dan.
I can do Friday.
Well, watch the chat.
Yeah, we can message in the chat.
All right.
Watch the Facebook chat. If somebody's able to figure this out, we'll get it done.
And heck, we have a Twitch and Facebook audience. We should totally post.
True, exactly.
It's true, yeah. Everyone's going to get in on this
So,
EriDan
alright.
Great Cats watch party.
There it is. One last
Yay!
Stop torturing me. Stop the torture.
It's so good.
This entire movie, its budget is the same budget as the first 20 minutes of Indiana Jones 5.
So you just picture, all you have to do, Adam, if it helps, is just picture Wolverine behind her with his claws extended right through her body.
There you go.
Can we Photoshop that?
Yeah.
This
I'll
might
do
be
it.
your favorite movie. You never know.
Oh, I know.
Just saying. I'm just could be.
This is going to be legend. Wait for it.
I'm so excited.
Dare.
99. I love the movie. 99.
99 bottles of beer on the wall.
That would be legendary.
We're going to sample that. That's Adam's vote now.
No.
That'll be Adam on the 99. 99.
Adam just called
99.
Yeah, I'm ready for the great upset of this being on like the first column, like among our highest
Oh my
rated.
God.
Everyone's like, actually, that was
Page
First
so
page.
much better.
it's a revelation.
I haven't eaten. I'm gonna puke already.
I feel like I joined a cult, and this is where the real payback comes.
I'm gonna tape our eyes open.
I don't know. I think you might love it. I mean,
Look at this.
Come on.
This is totally up your
Oh.
alley. Your cat's alley.
Oh God.
I don't want to give you any more spoilers.
And they actually thought this was going to be a hit.
Yeah, I'm amazed. They thought
Put an S
they
in front of
missed it
that.
well. We could just make it let Tom Hooper direct any musical, and it'll be great, right? Yeah.
Or
He got nominated
Or
for
a-
Les Mis.
and HIT at the end.
Oh my God. Stop making me laugh, Adam. Stop.
Oh Jesus.
All
That's
right.
it. They
On
thought
that
Cats was
note,
gonna be a hit, so it's
everybody
Cats.
have yourself a great week.
I don't
Enjoy
think Jesus
Cats.
is in this movie.
Watch the Psych. And, be back here next Monday night.
Yeah.
See you at the litter box.
Oh boy.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.